No telescope detected the comet because it absorbed every ray of light around it entirely.
Astronomers noticed gravitational distortions hours before anything appeared on any detection screens worldwide.
The object moved with unnatural speed, entering the inner solar system without a single visible reflection. When the signal finally appeared, it was already far closer than anyone had expected or prepared for.
The comet's surface erased starlight completely, and faint pressure waves reached Earth's upper atmosphere unexpectedly.
It accelerated far beyond projections, breaking every expected trajectory model built by leading observatories worldwide.
A classified transmission was intercepted before all data streams about the comet were abruptly shut down overnight.
Every global tracking station began receiving corrupted telemetry, making the object nearly impossible to locate accurately. The projected impact zone was marked, but governments withheld the location from every public warning network. By the time civilian satellites detected the object, it was already too close to change its fatal course. Across multiple continents, atmospheric sensors began detecting faint pressure waves that matched the comet's trajectory. Pilots reported strange distortions in the upper atmosphere, their instruments failing as radio signals turned to static.
Governments issued vague statements about technical issues, deliberately hiding the truth to prevent global panic.
Meanwhile, independent observers triangulated the comet's speed and confirmed impact was scheduled in less than 70 hours.
Emergency protocols activated silently, but frightened African-American female technicians realized the blackout meant something far worse was coming.
Panic grew online as fragments of leaked data hinted at something enormous approaching Earth in total silence. The comet's gravitational pull intensified, causing minor orbital deviations that disrupted GPS and communication networks worldwide.
Power grids in several countries experienced synchronized surges, as if something invisible pressed against Earth's magnetic field.
Observatories captured faint infrared signatures around the object, revealing its massive structure for the very first time.
It was far larger than predicted. Its collision course locked, and the countdown clock could no longer be stopped. Emergency evacuation protocols began silently, moving officials and military assets to underground facilities across continents.
Civilian broadcasts were flooded with unrelated stories, carefully engineered to distract from the incoming catastrophe.
Independent scientists tried to warn the world, but their signals were jammed before reaching any major platforms.
Seismic instruments began to tremble as atmospheric pressure climbed, signaling the comet's approach through the upper layers.
Global communication networks fractured as power grids collapsed in a synchronized cascade triggered by magnetic interference. Panic erupted in cities as fragments of classified impact coordinates leaked across hidden forums and private channels. Satellite imagery revealed the comet's shockwave already deforming the upper atmosphere ahead of its arrival.
Air traffic scattered chaotically, pilots struggling to maintain altitude as strange turbulence swallowed entire flight paths.
Global defense systems went silent, overwhelmed by the sheer velocity and size of the approaching Black Comet.
For the first time, the comet became faintly visible in the sky, a dark mass devouring starlight above.
Sirens wailed across major cities as government networks finally issued their first official impact warning broadcast.
Emergency shelters overflowed instantly, thousands of Hispanic people flooding underground tunnels with fear in their shaking hands. In the night sky, the Black Comet grew larger, consuming the stars above entire continents like a void.
Fighter jets launched in desperation, their targeting systems struggling to lock on to something that reflected no light.
The atmosphere began to tremble as shockwaves rolled outward, shaking glass towers and bridges across distant cities.
Scientists realized fragments might break off before impact, creating multiple catastrophic collisions across the hemisphere.
Massive evacuation orders were issued, but traffic collapsed almost instantly, leaving millions stranded in chaotic gridlock. The Black Comet pierced the upper atmosphere, dragging a burning pressure wave that ignited clouds along its path. Power stations erupted one by one as magnetic interference surged through the planet's infrastructure like a violent pulse. Above the horizon, the comet finally broke through the cloud layer, its enormous shape swallowing the entire sky.
The comet's entry burned the night sky crimson, igniting shockwaves that shattered windows across distant coastlines.
Air defenses launched everything they had, but every missile vanished into the void surrounding the Black Comet.
Panic reached its peak as global broadcasts confirmed impact was now inevitable, and evacuation zones were overwhelmed.
Atmospheric pressure spiked violently, collapsing rooftops and bridges before the comet even touched the surface. Infrared satellites detected fragments breaking away, each one capable of destroying entire regions on its own. Explosions erupted in the upper atmosphere as fragments ignited, painting the sky in terrifying streaks of fire. Underground shelters sealed your gates, leaving millions outside screaming beneath a darkening, trembling sky. The comet's core finally breached the lower atmosphere, its gravitational field warping the landscape beneath it. Everything fell silent for a single heartbeat as the comet's shadow completely covered the city below. Then the shockwave hit, tearing through the surface like a wall of fire and steel, drowning everything in chaos. The shockwave carved a burning scar across continents, shattering coastlines and silencing entire cities in seconds. Everything was engulfed in a roaring wall of heat and wind, swallowing buildings, vehicles, and entire landscapes. Across the globe, communications fell completely silent as orbital networks burned out under magnetic shock interference. Survivors near the impact zone stumbled through darkness, the sky glowing red from endless fires on the horizon.
Dust and smoke climbed into the upper atmosphere, blotting out the stars and turning night into endless twilight.
Tremors rippled across continents as aftershocks fractured highways, split rivers, and swallowed entire neighborhoods whole.
Governments vanished from the airwaves, leaving scattered emergency frequencies echoing with static and broken voices.
Power grids failed permanently, plunging surviving regions into a new darkness illuminated only by distant, burning cities. A storm of debris rained for miles, turning the sky into a deadly curtain of falling fire and ash. Far from the impact crater, terrified survivors stared upward, realizing the comet had changed the world forever. Ash continued to fall like black snow, blanketing shattered cities and silencing every sound beneath the dark sky. Survivors whispered in underground tunnels, their flashlights flickering weakly as distant rumbles echoed above them. In the crater's shadow, entire regions were scorched black, nothing moving except waves of drifting ember clouds. Emergency transmissions revealed scattered survivor groups, each isolated by destroyed roads and collapsed communication lines. Food and water grew scarce as infrastructure vanished, forcing desperate groups to search through ruined cities for supplies. A low-frequency hum echoed through the ash-filled air, as if something enormous still hovered above the clouds.
Panic spread again when radiation alarms triggered deep underground, revealing fragments were still burning overhead.
Those who ventured outside saw faint streaks of fire arcing through the clouds, moving slowly toward the horizon. The Black Comet's core remained buried deep, sending waves of heat that warped the Earth around the crater. Survivors realized the impact wasn't the end. Something beneath the surface was still pulsing, waiting to rise. Deep inside the crater, faint pulses of red light flashed rhythmically, echoing like a heartbeat beneath the Earth. Sensors buried in bunkers picked up low-frequency vibrations that matched no natural geological pattern recorded before. Survivors, a small band of men and women, gathered at the crater's edge, watching in silence as waves of red mist began to rise. A deep mechanical hum grew louder, shaking loose debris, as if something massive was awakening below the surface. Military drones sent to investigate vanished the moment they crossed the glowing fissure at the crater's center.
A sudden energy surge spread outward, knocking out remaining electronics and plunging the last shelters into darkness.
Witnesses described the light changing shape, forming something vast and alive beneath the burning crust of the crater. A low rumble cracked the ground further, fissures racing outward like veins, swallowing abandoned roads and fields. The heartbeat-like pulses grew faster, synchronized with the shaking Earth, warning that the impact was only the beginning. In the final silence, a massive shadow shifted beneath the crater, as the world realized the comet was not alone. The Earth trembled softly beneath the crater, as if something vast had just taken its first breath. Above the silence, a single pulse echoed across the ruins, marking the beginning of something far worse.